Good morning, afternoon, or evening, whatever time you're tuning into this broadcast. It's Issues, Coach Ish, whatever you want to call me. Back with another video. So let's get into it. Alright, so yeah, it's been a minute since I made a video on the topic of boxing. There's been a lot going on with me, with life and everything else. Yeah, life and death and loss and gain. There's been a whole lot of it. So I couldn't not make a video about the end of an era. The end of an era, and what I mean by the end of an era, I mean the Terrence Crawford era. Terrence Bud Crawford has officially retired from boxing. And I got kind of mixed emotions about it. This is actually one of, I remember when Mike Tyson retired. I remember when Andre Ward retired, Floyd Mayweather, etc., etc., etc. None of those really impacted or affected me as much as Terrence Crawford retired, because to most people it seemed like he's retiring too early, and for a lot of reasons. I ain't gonna say too early, because if that's his decision, that's his decision. And honestly, I think it's a good decision. When he first beat Canelo Alvarez, I said I would like to see him retire. Go out on your own terms, go out undefeated, you know what I'm saying? And even though there's been a lot of boxers who retired undefeated, there hasn't been many who retired undefeated with the same amount of accolades as Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford is three-time undisputed champion, 3 different weight classes, which is, we've never seen that before, ever. He was undisputed at 140, undisputed at 147, champion at 150, at 154, and then moved up and became undisputed at 168 by defeating Canelo Alvarez, who is an all-time great. He's an all-time Mexican great. He's an all-time boxing great. And you know, in the pantheon of great Mexican fighters, you know what I'm saying? If you want to make a Mount Rushmore of Mexican fighters, you have to throw Canelo Alvarez on it. I'm not gonna say he's the greatest Mexican fighter of all time, because he's not. But he is one of the, he's top 5. He's top 5 Mexican fighters of all time. You know what I'm saying? I'll give him that. And you know, I ain't gonna say carried the sport, but you know, one of the fighters who carried the sport, one of the faces of boxing. Some people would say he was the face of boxing. I'm not gonna say all that, because you still had dudes like Gervonta Davis and so forth and so on. So, but he moved up in weight to 168. Like, he did something that Sugar Ray Robinson didn't even do. Sugar Ray Robinson, at 41-0, I believe, he moved up in weight and fought Jake LaMotta at light heavyweight, and lost the first time, and then he, to his credit though, he rematched him 2 weeks later. So, you know, but that's a different era. Fighters in that era fought way more frequently than fighters in this era. So he moved up in weight. We're talking about Sugar Ray Robinson, who I consider to be the GOAT. Moved up in weight, fought Jake LaMotta, and lost. And then took a tune-up fight like a week later, and fought Jake LaMotta again like maybe 2-3 weeks later, and beat him. So you know, and then went on like a 90-fight win streak, something like that. Now, there's certain things about that doesn't translate to today's era. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we're not going to see Terrence Crawford go on a 90-fight win streak. We're not going to see no fighter go on a 90-fight win streak. That's like impossible these days. Just the rate of, you know, that fighters fight. Fighters don't fight every month or every week like fighters used to fight back then. You know what I'm saying? But Terrence Crawford, who, you know, the reason why I couldn't pass up the opportunity to make this video is because I've been a Terrence Crawford supporter for a long time now. Honestly, you know, not even as long as some people. He came on my radar when he beat Yuriokis Gamboa. At the time, I was a huge Yuriokis Gamboa fan. Huge Yuriokis Gamboa fan. So, you know, in the power vacuum or the absence of Floyd, there were certain fighters who I considered to be the fighters who could step into that space. It was Yuriokis Gamboa, Gary Russell Jr., Vasily Lomachenko. Who else I'm trying to think of around that time that I was really big on. But I didn't know much about Terrence Crawford. I didn't know much about him. And in that fight with Yuriokis Gamboa, I was super impressed. Just his versatility, his versatility, his boxing IQ, his power in both hands, his courage under fire. You know what I'm saying? His adaptability. There was a lot that I saw in that one fight. So I started following him. And in following him, you know, I started, you know, it was the Ndongo fight, which a lot of people, you know, like, oh, who's that? When he became undisputed the first time by beating Ndongo, not Ngannou, Ndongo. And he dropped him with a body shot from southpaw stance. He fought him southpaw and stopped him with a body shot. That was one of the most impressive things that I've seen. And so from that fight, I was like, yo, this kid is the truth. This kid is probably pound for pound the best fighter in the sport. And oh my God, the backlash that I used to get from bigging up Terrence Crawford used to be crazy, because at the time Errol Spence was the guy, you know what I mean? And there's a lot of other fighters who were up there. The welterweight division was popping. Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, you know, guys like that. Errol Spence, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, even though around that time there was talks of him coming up to 147, all the talks were, you know, like, oh man, this dude, he can't beat nobody at 147. He's too small. He can't beat Sean Porter. He can't beat Errol Spence. And I used to argue with people all the time. And I was one of the people who, the two fights that I got the most right, there's been 3 fights that I've gotten the most right in my life. Terrence Crawford versus Errol Spence. All right, skill for skill, breaking it down. I said, look, Terrence Crawford is not just going to beat Errol Spence, he's going to wash him. And people thought I was nuts. And look what happened. When he decided to move up to fight Canelo Alvarez, I consistently said, Terrence Crawford is going to beat Canelo Alvarez the same way he beats everybody else. He might not stop him. But he's going to beat him the same way he beats everybody else, which is, the fight is going to look competitive for a while, and then once Terrence Crawford figures out what he needs to figure out with Canelo, which is easy to do. It's easy to do. We've seen fighters figure Canelo out before. They just couldn't close the deal. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say easy to do. I ain't gonna disrespect Canelo like that. Shout out to Canelo Alvarez. But, you know what I mean? But I've seen him get figured out before. I've seen it. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it against Caleb Plant. I've seen it against Billy Joe Saunders for as long as that fight lasted. Hell, even Amir Khan. You know what I'm saying? When Amir Khan went up in weight and fought Canelo, he was doing really good work against Canelo until he got stopped. You know what I mean? But that kind of goes against Amir Khan. Amir Khan has always been the type of fighter that he can stick to a game plan, but after a while, he starts to get reckless. He starts to, you know, sit and trade a little bit too long. Starts to rely on his hand speed a little bit too much. He starts to fight with his heart instead of his head, and he ends up getting clipped. That's kind of what happened with Danny Garcia. When Danny Garcia clipped Amir Khan was whooping Danny Garcia's ass. And then Amir Khan did what he always does, and he got clipped. So I knew what was going to happen. I knew that, you know, he's going to figure him out and then he's going to stop him. You know what I'm saying? So that's what happened. And off Terrence Crawford's subject, another fight that I got right was going all the way back to Manny Pacquiao versus Oscar De La Hoya, which, you know, now it's like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, but at the time when that fight happened, nobody thought Manny Pacquiao was going to be able to beat Oscar De La Hoya. Thought Manny Pacquiao was too small. Oscar De La Hoya was too big. He was too experienced. He had already given Mayweather, even though Oscar De La Hoya was old, he had already given Mayweather a really good fight. That fight could have gone either way. Mayweather and Oscar De La Hoya. And Manny Pacquiao took Oscar De La Hoya apart. And Oscar De La Hoya retired on his stool. So two of Terrence Crawford's fights, in those three fights that I feel like I've called, you know what I'm saying, like those are the fights. I've called a lot of fights correctly, but those are the three, you know what I'm saying, in my boxing journey that I feel like I got the most right. Anyway, I digress. Terrence Crawford, stellar career, 42-0. Can't remember how many knockouts on the top of my head, but undisputed in 3 different weight classes. Moved up from 147, had a brief stop at 154, moved all the way up to 168 from 147, and pretty much beat the brakes off Canelo Alvarez to be undisputed at 168. So excellent career, stellar career, you know what I mean? And at this point, there's nothing else to prove. He literally has nothing else to prove. So I think retirement is the best thing for him. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, people all fight Benavidez, fight this person, fight that person. Like, the longer he stays in the sport, the more ridiculous the challenges are going to be. Because what he did was so monumental. You know, like, how do you outdo that? The only way to outdo that is to, you know, take on some more monumental challenges. And at this point, you know, the monumental challenges, number one, are not worth the risk, or it's not worth the money. You know what I'm saying? If he can't get, you know, 100 million to fight, like he said, that was his price. He said 100 million. Can't get 100 million to fight, then, you know what I'm saying? What's the point? And who out there is going to be? Canelo was the last great. There are no more greats. Terrence Crawford and Canelo were the last greats of this era. The rest of the fighters, because most of the fighters have prioritized the bag over greatness, the gap between Canelo Alvarez and, let's say, I mean, who could I say right now is a great fighter? You know, I can't even say anybody. There's really no great outside of Canelo Alvarez who's still active, unless he retires too. There's really no boxing greats out there. You can't say Tank Davis. Tank Davis is popular. He's not a great fighter. He's a good fighter, but I feel like Floyd Mayweather and them, you know what I'm saying, the people running his career in the early days. And I said this too when he was young. I said this. They're going to destroy that boy's career. because they're trying to move him like Money Mayweather. He's not Money Mayweather. He needs to, you know, prioritize greatness. And even with Tank Davis, you know, if he's retiring as well, the question is, who did he fight? Because greatness is determined by the opponents that you vanquish. It's not determined by your popularity. It's not determined by how people feel about you. It's not determined by how much money you make. You know what I'm saying? Money Mayweather, the money factored into his greatness because that became his moniker, Money Mayweather. You know what I'm saying? So money was a big part of his thing, but that's not the truth for everybody. So we can't say Tank Davis, we can't say Devin Haney, we can't say Ryan Garcia, we can't say, you know, anybody, really. You know what I'm saying? So there are no more great challenges for Terrence Crawford. You know, there are challenges. Benavidez would be a challenge, you know what I'm saying? But that, honestly, I wouldn't want to see that fight. I mean, I would want to see that fight if it happened, but I think that's a reach. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a bit of a reach. I think him going up beat Canelo Alvarez is like stretching the rubber band as far as it can go. I believe trying to stretch it any further can potentially end a disaster for him, because Terrence Crawford is 38 years old, 37, 38 years old, you know what I'm saying, which is really old for a boxer, you know what I'm saying? So he's approaching his 40s. Go ahead and ride off in the sunset, because anybody who fights, like Terrence Crawford fighting Canelo Alvarez made Terrence Crawford. It didn't make Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez was already the guy, you know what I'm saying? So Terrence Crawford beating Canelo Alvarez cemented Terrence Crawford, similar to Manny Pacquiao beating De La Hoya cemented Manny Pacquiao. De La Hoya was already a great. But there's nobody out there that, if Terrence Crawford beats, is going to elevate his name even more. There's literally nobody out there. You know what I'm saying? You know, people keep saying Boots Ennis. Boots Ennis is not a great fighter. He has the potential to be one. Per the eye test, he has the potential to be one. But we don't even know we don't even know how special he is. Per the eye test, he's special. Per the eye test, he's good. People keep calling him a great fighter. He's not a great fighter because he hasn't beat anybody great. He has not achieved any sort of greatness. He's been fighting at 147 his whole career, which really, you know what I mean, he's a big 147. So he's been, you know, pretty much weight bullying. I ain't gonna go that far and say it was complete weight bullying, but you've been outclassing fighters who you're supposed to outclass. You've been fighting fighters smaller than you, less experienced, less talented, things like that. So what Boots Ennis needs to do, especially since he has over 30 fights now, he has over 30 fights and hasn't really fought nobody. Who's he fought? You know what I mean? The name that will probably stick out in most people's mind is Karen Chukajan. And nobody even know who that was. The only reason we know who that is because he gave Boots Ennis some problems. You know what I'm saying? But Karen Chukajan, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's not a great fighter either. You know what I'm saying? We don't even really know how good he is. I think he's a good fighter. Is he a great fighter? No. You know what I mean? But he has not dared to be great. I think he was trying to do what most fighters do in this era, which is like talk their way into skipping a line and getting an opportunity to fight someone who's great and potentially winning. And a lot of fighters have done that and come up short. You know what I'm saying? And if he would have fought Terrence Crawford, I believe that's what would have happened. I don't think Boots Ennis could beat Terrence Crawford, not at this point. You know what I mean? Based on what Terrence Crawford has actually done. Terrence Crawford is a fighter who got it all out the mud. completely out the mud. There wasn't no skipping the line. There wasn't no nothing. You know what I'm saying? Every opportunity, like, think of what he had to go through to get to Errol Spence. He had to go through Jeff Horn, who had beat Manny Pacquiao. He had to go through Amir Khan. He had to go through Jose Benavidez. He had to go through Kell Brook. He had to go through Sean Porter. You know what I'm saying? Just to get to Errol Spence. You know what I mean? And then, you know, talk about his resume, the lighter weights or whatever. But he got it out the mud. You know what I'm saying? Whereas somebody like Boots Ennis, who, again, he has all the talents and tools, but what we've seen in a lot of these cases, if you don't test yourself, your talents and tools don't mean nothing. Because I'll tell you another fighter who had talents and tools, you know, most of his career until he finally jumped up in level and got beat. And that's Demetrius Andrade. Demetrius Andrade was, coming out of the amateurs, was probably the most talented fighter in that class, in his class. You know what I'm saying? Had beat a lot of the guys that came out with him. You know what I mean? But because he never fought any premier opposition until he fought Benavidez. And Benavidez exposed his flaws, because he was able to get away with those flaws because his whole career he had fought below his level. He fought fighters below his level, and that's what Boots Ennis has like 30-something fights with, you know, fighting below his level. So what he needs to do is prioritize going for greatness. Everything got to be about legacy, fam. You got to take on the tough fights. He's at 154. He got to take on the Fonduras of the world. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, he got to take on, the Virgil Ortizes and, you know, those guys. You know what I'm saying? He gotta really strive for names, and mostly names and talent. You know what I'm saying? Ben Whitaker. I'd like to see that. That'd be a dope fight. Ben Whitaker and Boots Ennis. So Boots Ennis is not even in the class of Terrence Crawford. So even people saying, yo, you should fight Boots Ennis, that'll be a great fight. Oh well. And it won't pay what Terrence Crawford is worth. So other than that, you know, outside of him maybe fighting Jake Paul for a bag, you know what I'm saying, or doing something, you know, completely silly, moving up that, fighting a heavyweight or something crazy, you know what I'm saying? Other than that, there's no, stick around for what? You know what I'm saying? So I like the fact that he's retiring. He still got his faculties. He's not punch drunk. He's not injured. We've seen no signs of decline. He's going out on arguably his best performance of his career. That his performance against Canelo Alvarez, to me, is the best performance of his career. It's the best performance of his career. You know what I'm saying? And that performance solidified his greatness. And for me, I have him top 5 of all time. I got him in the category with Muhammad Ali, Sugar Ray Robinson, dudes like that. You know what I'm saying? I think, you know, put Terrence Crawford and Sugar Ray Robinson, that's a good fight. You know what I'm saying? That's a good fight. Terrence Crawford is one of the greatest fighters who ever lived. Best fighters and greatest fighters, because greatness and best is two different things. You know what I'm saying? So when I usually make my list, you know, like people ask me who's the greatest fighter that ever lived, it's a lot different than who's the best fighter who ever lived. So congratulations to Terrence Crawford, going out on a tremendous victory. I salute him. You know, take care of your family. You got enough money. You know what I'm saying? You made the bag. You made good investments. You know what I mean? He always lived below his means. You know what I'm saying? So he got the money to take care of whatever he needed to take care of. So salute to Terrence Crawford. And we'll see who's next to fill those shoes. Who's next to fill those shoes? We don't know. You know what I'm saying? Because the gap between Terrence Crawford and the next person to be, you know, in that conversation as far as a great fighter is long. It's a wide gap. So we'll see. We'll see where it goes from here. All right. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Let's talk about it. Peace and love.